makers, because they're selling these poisons, they make tons of money. They can take a little bit of something that costs 50 cents and sell it for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Don't believe me? Look into it. One bottle of Ritalin, sorry, a pound. 1 pound of Ritalin is $250,000 retail price. $250,000. Now, if I'm selling marijuana, I know I can get about $3 grand for a pound. If I'm selling cocaine, I know I can get about $6 grand for a pound. Because it's what I do on the side. Just kidding. But if I'm a pharmaceutical company, and I can create this stuff called Ritalin that is a Schedule II narcotic, similar, pharmacologically, exactly the same as cocaine, and I can force children to take it, because if you have ADHD, now in the United States, if your parents say they're not going to be on it, they'll take them away, award them to the state, and make sure that they're taking drugs. And the same thing's going to happen here if we don't stand up and stop it. But it comes out, I don't know where I got into that from, but anyways, it's a massive thing. Now they're passing laws and doing all these things for state licensed doctors and everything else to where they're winning. If you have a problem because of the last 100 years and the perceptions and programming that's gone into the public, people aren't going to say, oh, I need to eat an apple, I need to go for a walk, I need to get some heliotherapy, take off some clothes, get out in the sun, absorb some sunlight, get some vitamin D, some melatonin, serotonin, activate my pineal gland, take off my sunglasses and let the light come in. Shakespeare said, the eyes are the seat to the soul. Your soul lives on light. The Illuminati created these things that we put over our eyes to block out light from coming in, which is causing all kinds of problems. If you're in the sun, and the sun is hitting you, but your eyes aren't getting the response that the sun is giving, there's an imbalance taking place. Your brain should be releasing very specific chemicals based on the amount of sun that you're getting. So if you're blocking off that sun by using sunglasses, you're creating chaos. If you're driving in your vehicle and there's sun glare, I'm going to wear sunglasses. Other than that, I'm going to open my eyes. And what you'll notice is at first you're like, wow, I just came out of a cave. Oh my gosh, I'm squinting so much. Within about a week of looking into the sun every morning and night, like I've been doing for many years, going out and actually watching the sun come up like the ancient Egyptians did, calling it sun gazing. Now you can go out in noonday sun with your eyes wide open. And now everybody else is like, oh, what do I do and put on the glasses? It's ridiculous. Anyways, I didn't mean to talk about any of this, but anciently they referred to the body as a temple. Specifically, King Solomon said it was King Solomon's temple. Every temple, if you look at Egypt, if you look at Karnak, if you look at the temple of On and Heliopolis, if you look at any of these, they built the temples based on the same proportions of the body. Now there's something called tripartite parts. If you look at your finger, there's 3 basic parts on your finger. It's called tripartites. If you look in nature, food grows at 3 different areas. It grows underneath the ground as a tuber, it grows right on the ground, and it grows above the ground. If you look at the body, there's 3 main sections of the body. If you look at the hand, there's 3 parts there. If you look at the arm, there's 3 main parts, all in 5 proportion. If you look at the leg, we have a foot, lower leg, upper leg. If you look at the face, there's actually 3 measurements on top of the face, which you can see in Da Vinci's painting. He talked all about the Vitruvian man was the measure of man. I'm exactly 6 foot, so my foot is 12 inches. Your foot, your height, should be exactly 6 times the size of your foot to be a well-proportioned individual. You should be exactly 16 hand lengths tall as well. The distance between your chin to your nose should be the exact same distance from your nose to your brow. That should be the exact same distance from your brow to where your hair starts. Really interesting ratios, and if you start to look into the mathematics of phi and pi, you'll realize that they were using these brilliant mathematics in all of their building. King Solomon was a status. He said, I am Solomon. Solomon meant a perfect temple. You see, King Solomon is you. Once you perfected your temple, from the bottom of the foot to the navel was considered Saul. This thing called the solar sun gives forth life and seed and light into the world. Just like we give forth light and seed into the world. It's how we procreate, man and woman, in the basement of the temple. The main floor was considered Om. And this is where all the organs are housed. We have our heart, we have our liver, our kidneys. They call them organs. You can play an organ, which is a musical instrument, or you can use this organ called the throat in the middle section of the house to balance the other organs. Through music, through vibration. Om. You got these guys sitting up in Tibet and all these different places and meditating and breathing properly. Om Mani Padme Om. And they're saying very specific things, and it's balancing their organs. They're tuning them. They should be tuned to the same frequency that the earth is putting off. Like he was saying earlier, getting grounded outside. Listening to beautiful music. They know that playing Beethoven and Bach and all these things while a child is prenatal will actually enhance the intelligence of the child. Well, maybe it'll enhance your intelligence as well if you listen to it while you're driving, if you listen to it while you're walking. Picking music that motivates us. You know, there's nothing more that motivates an individual than music that they like. It doesn't have to be Bach or Beethoven. If you listen to a tune and it just gets you jiving, you should listen to that tune more often and go out and jive. Go for a walk, go for a run, and use those things to motivate you. So this was King Solomon's temple, Sol, Om, and the temple of On is the temple of light in Heliopolis. This is where all light is perceived into the body and projected out into the world. If you look at the top of the temple, there's 7 very specific windows, just like the 7 different windows of the top of the head. These are the 7 doors, the 7 gateways, the 7 elders, the 7 God doors. And this is where the 5 senses are perceived. Sight, smell, taste, touch, and sound. It's all vibration. It's all perceived up above the temple. So, in this belief, I won't get into the Vitruvian man, but it's actually a Vitruvian man and woman. From the back, you can't tell the difference, and you can actually see on the original painting, it looks like ovaries, and the woman is standing like this, in the circle, because a circle is feminine, and she's reaching just outside the box and touching the circle. You can see it in the actual Vitruvian man painting. The man is standing like this, very square and rigid. Really interesting. If you study the Vitruvian man, there's all kinds of interesting keys and stuff there. The Egyptians were talking about using phi and pi in everything. So they used these proportions in their building. They used it in their artwork. They used it in their language. They spoke in very specific ways that used proportions of phi and pi. And the one thing that nobody ever talks about is the fact that they observed and used these sacred geometries in the food that they ate. The Pharaohs were considered gods. There are very specific documents that say they lived thousands of years. And they would change their name. Imhotep IV becomes Akhenaten. And he reigns for another 1,000-year dynasty. So these people were looked at in a very different way. And the high priests and other people were obviously brilliant. To this day, with the modern technology we have, we cannot replicate a pyramid. Even with artificial materials, we can't build it to the same exact way that they have. We'd be off by a couple of feet. And they were perfectly on using stones that weighed 500 tons. Our largest cranes can only lift 300 tons, and they're in Dubai, building all these huge buildings. So we don't have the technology to lift a single stone from the inside of the pyramid. And they found the quarry where they cut the stones, which are 50, 100 miles away. So how did they move these possible stones? It's obvious that they were brilliant, and I believe personally it's because they were observers and they looked at foods and learned how to put the foods together in very specific proportions. And when they would offer that to the temple as an offering, it would create intelligence, it would create health, it would create strength, it would create dreams and visions and all these things to where they had a capacity higher than the average individual.